Hello, everybody. This is President Pinball with Prisoners of Hope National Chapter in Ruidoso, New Mexico. We are starting to do our interviews, our testimony interviews. Rabbit will be doing interviews from now on, from here on out. This is Prospect Rabbit.
Hi.
How many days you got now?
132.
132 days, man. Getting about ready, huh?
Yep.
Yeah. Excited? All right. We're doing testimony interviews, and the reason we're doing this is that we would like y'all, people online, people that don't know us, to get to know us a little bit, and find out what Prisoners of Hope is about, and never know, you might decide that this is a great setup for you, and you might want to join. If you do, get a hold of us. We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah.
Let's start out with, let's kind of talk about your childhood. Let's go tell us a little bit about from birth to 10 years old, kind of, what your life was like.
Well, I was with my family. We moved around a lot. Before I was even 5, I was born in Arizona. I lived in New Mexico shortly, and then we moved to Texas.
No, I'm joking.
My mom got sick right before we moved to Texas. She was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. And so by the time we were in Texas, I'm about 7 years old, my mom's disease started progressing rapidly. She wasn't able to take care of me mentally, physically, or financially. And so one day we're sitting there in the living room and church comes on TV. And I see, something that's new to me. So I'm 7 years old. I throw an all-out temper tantrum on the floor, kicking and screaming like this. I want to go to church. I want to go to church. So there's a church close by to us in San Angelo, Texas, that I started going to. My mom and I walked that first Sunday. And then after that, several different members of the church, they just kind of took me in and helped me. They'd get me back and forth to church. I started attending Bible studies and any other thing I can get into there. I was baptized, but I still don't think, I know now at that time I really wasn't fully aware of what that really meant. I just knew I wanted to do that. I wanted what everyone else had. They seemed so happy. And so a couple of years later, my mom gets sicker. I end up having to leave her care. She was going to put me in a group home in Dallas that her and the pastor of that church had found for me. Well, another guardian in the church decided they wanted to take me in, and they fought to get custodialship of me. Well, shortly after that, the home became kind of hostile. There was a lot of abuse going on in there, and once some other members of the church found out, they removed me, and that started my process of being in private placement foster care. I wasn't a ward of the state yet. I had other guardians who had that legal conservatorship of me, but I was still in foster homes. And several of them didn't work out. They would move you constantly in there before you could even get too comfortable. So I was always moving. And yeah, by the time I was 10, I was in my first children's home in San Antonio.
All right. And so, pretty much through your elementary years, you were pretty much bouncing around from school to school, so you didn't have did you have any close friends that you really?
No, I remember one girl that at the time was my best friend, and she was in 2nd grade, and after that, I don't think I had any friends.
Really? Wow. Now, I'm sure there's people out there that are going to hear this, and they can, either they're going through this right now as a child, or they have somebody in their family that's going through this, and from whenever they're 10 years old or younger, going through this CPS, being bounced around, from foster homes, do you have any advice to them or anything that might be able to reach out to them at that young age?
Whatever it is, whatever the situation is that you're that caused you to have to go through this. It's not your fault, and you're not alone. There's so many people here that have not only gone through it, but are willing to be there in any way they can to help you. And I'm one of those. So if anyone sees this, please reach out to us.
Yeah, it's not your fault. That's a good one.
It's
that's
not.
a good. All right. So now you're 10 years old and you're going from foster care, or you haven't been placed into actually state custody yet, right?
No, I had between 10 and 15, I had a private a guardian who took care of everything else, but I just wasn't in their home. I was in first I started out in a children's home in San Antonio, a Presbyterian, so they were faith-based. And then from there I was moved all over in the Dallas area. After a year in that placement, they moved me into foster homes that were Presbyterian foster care. So, Methodist foster care. And so they had different Christian-based homes that they would move around to. I was in 3 different homes. The second one I was in, the third one I was in, after being moved from those 2 with no other reason than them saying it was too much of a culture shock for me to be there. I was placed in predominantly black homes, and they decided that those 2 homes were too much of a culture shock for me. So they moved me into another home, and I self-sabotaged that one because I felt like they were going to move me again and say that there was something wrong with that home too. And I started on a path of self-destruction about 8th grade. Started to get rebelling, getting in trouble in school, acting out at home. My temperament changed. Started having anger and behavioral issues. They tried putting me on all kinds of different medicine, from ADHD medicine, and then after they would give me ADHD medicine, they'd put me on a medicine at night to make me sleep, since the ADHD medicine had me too high. So there was just a lot of trial and error throughout those years, and a lot of self-destructive behavior. Mostly I felt that somehow I think that I was afraid of failing or them giving up on me, so I beat them to the punch, so to speak. And then by the time I was 14, I was in another private placement, but this time it was with a pastor of the church that I was going to at that young age. She took me in for a year. She did wonderful. I thank God every day for that happening. But unfortunately, that was one of the homes that I self-sabotaged. I went down a path of destruction, and I honestly can't even remember what it was that I did. I just know I was acting out.
Yeah.
And she did the best she could, but she wasn't able to care for me anymore. And so I turned 15, and 2 days later, I was put into CPS officially as a ward of the state.
Okay. And so how was that transition?
Other than the fact that I didn't have that other outside support, I guess, which was important, it helped me all those years. I felt more alone. Sure, Billy, you can have it.
You can have something, Billy.
Go
drink it. Go eat it. That's my son. Sorry.
I felt just more alone and just kind of afraid, and because there was no one on the outside in control to make sure that the next homes or situations I were going to be in were going to be okay, safe. I didn't have that safety net anymore. And so it was really hard and really scary. And I know then I definitely acted out more. My behavior started getting worse. I was constantly in trouble at home, or in the home. At school, I did well in school. I was always very smart. I could figure it all out and do it all. It was just a matter of actually doing it. Yeah. And I stopped didn't have the drive to do that. My school started slacking off. Well, by the time, after being in a couple of emergency shelters and a foster home, my aunt got custody of me. Somewhat. She got me out of CPS and brought me into her home. I took a real downward turn. I started, I got that first taste of freedom that I never had, so I started going to parties, I started drinking, started smoking weed, Then I started doing coke, and then when there wasn't any more coke, I started, and it wasn't good enough, I did meth. And it showed. I mean, I couldn't hide it. I couldn't hide it. My aunt saw it, my family saw that, but they only knew what it was because they had struggled with addiction themselves and currently were. So after being in such a structured environment in CPS and then going back to, you know, with family or in that environment, I was given an inch and ran a mile.
Yeah.
And it was really hard too, because that was what I was exposed to. I was exposed to the party lifestyle. I was exposed to drugs. My family was doing drugs. So really, I mean, even though I knew drugs are bad, how could they be if everyone I know and love is doing them?
Oh yeah, I get that.
And then it became, hey, can you get me some? And sure. And it was kind of toxic there. But addiction's addiction, and it's a sickness and it's a disease. So I don't hold any resentments or anything for that, that happening, because I made my own choices. I definitely, that was on me. So my aunt got me because of that. Decided she couldn't take care of me anymore and put me back in CPS. So when I get back to CPS, I'm 16 now. I decide I've had a taste of freedom. You're not sending me back, so I run away. I get caught. They send me back. I run away again. I got caught one more time. They sent me back. I ran away that last time, and I went to, instead of going back to the city that they knew me at, I moved to glorious Midland, Texas.
Glorious Midland.
Heavily lit with sarcasm there, but
yeah, that place is hot.
It is, and it didn't help me any. It just fueled my desire for all the horrible things, because it's surrounding me. Bad things are everywhere, but yeah. I feel like that town was definitely my downfall.
And so then now you're close to 18 here, and so let's go from 18 to 21. What was it like, up to the time you became able to drink? So legally.
Yes. So I'd run away from CPS. I was in one relationship for 6 months, and it didn't work. So I'm out on the streets. I'm 17, and don't know what else to do. All of my friends, can't help me, and they can't help themselves. So I go from one relationship to the next, thinking it's my only hope. I was a codependent person, very much so, and I still am, but not in the same sense. And so that relationship I was trapped in, honestly, because I didn't have anywhere else to go, and then I was tricked into believing what it was love. The drugs didn't help fuel those crazy fantasies, and very shortly after that, relationship became abusive. Not just, of course, verbally, but physically. It went from a punch here to choking here to thinking I'm going to die. I can't get away. And it was probably the darkest time in my life. The hardest part. I was so far away from God. The guy I was with was claimed to be atheist. He didn't believe in God. So that pushed me farther away from him, because two people can't, if one knows God and the other doesn't, and they don't want to, it's never going to work. I should have known that to begin with, but like I said, drugs were involved, and it made it worse. So I started getting farther away from God. I felt even more isolated and alone. I didn't have anyone to turn to. The only people I knew were other drug addicts, so like I said, they can't help you. I ended up stuck in that relationship for about 3 years when someone finally, I believe it was my cousin, finally mentioned, why don't you go to rehab? Rehab? What? Wait, I can sleep there, I'm safe, I get to get clean, I get skills. Maybe that's not a bad idea. So I set a bed date, and I was supposed to go to rehab June 1st, 2016. Well, May 25th of that year, I was arrested. I went to jail, and I missed my bed date for rehab. So in there, I'm thinking, it's so hard to get in sometimes to those places, especially when you can't pay for yourself. You're going to a state-funded rehab. If you miss your bed date, you kind of are screwed. So I was in there, and I just remember crying and breaking down. And then when I finally had more of a sober mind, I started just thanking God that, and I knew that me going to jail is what saved my life. Because if I hadn't have gone to jail, I would have stayed in that relationship, or I wouldn't have been able to go. That is what actually made me get out. And it just, that opened my eyes, and like I said, it saved my life. And so from there, I get out a month later, and I set a new bed date. I can get in a week later. Throughout this week period, of course, I'm enjoying my freedom, my last few days, messing up in every way I can before I go get my life right. And that's not the right mentality to have before you go to rehab. I think it kind of set me up for a failure there. But anyway, so I get into rehab, and I'm there for a month. I meet a guy in rehab. For those of you who know the 12-step program, when you meet a guy in rehab, it's called the 13th step. And I decided I was going to 13th step it with a guy, and it was going to work out. We were going to be sober together. We got this, and, we got this. Not him, though. So we get out, we move in together, and we're 6 months in, and, throughout those 6 months, we start heavily drinking on the weekends, they had a bring your own beer bowling alley. So, that was our hangout, and alcohol just slowly started consuming my life. I worked to drink on the weekends. And so 6 months into it, it's around Christmas of 2016, I'm at my aunt's house, and I was told that there would be a pipe in there, in the bathroom. And so I sneak off to the bathroom a little bit later, and I finish what's in there. Well, I hadn't done anything for 2 days, and I'm freaking out. I eventually call into work and say, I'm sorry, I'm sick, I can't come in, and go and score some stuff. So there starts my downward spiral. 6 months and gone, just out the window. And it just, I relapsed once for an entire year. That's really, that once is all it takes. And I was in this relationship with someone else who was an addict, and come to find out they had relapsed before me. They just were better at hiding it. Yeah. So now we had relapsed together, and we're pulling each other down, and it's just toxic. We can't even stay in the same room with each other unless we have drugs. So he goes to prison. We split up then, and we go our separate ways. I'm struggling, trying to get my life together, but I don't have God in it, so it fails every time. I get clean for a little bit, and then in a moment of weakness, I turn to drugs instead of him. So I moved away thinking if I moved away, I wouldn't be able to find it. Well, when it got rough over there, I just moved back. I ended up by the time I'm going on 21 now. I'm about to have my 21st birthday. I'm clean again. I'm not doing anything. Well, guess who didn't celebrate her 21st birthday like typical people? I didn't. I didn't drink. I didn't do anything. I got all that out of my system. I was going to the bar since I was 17. I mean, no one carded me. So, but I didn't have that desire anymore. I don't, and I still don't to this day. I don't care for alcohol at all. Can't even stand the smell of it. But it was a huge difference of just my whole life. I can't wait to be 21. I can go and drink. And now I'm like, I don't want to do this. I don't care for it.
So through this, what would you, and I know this is probably going to be kind of hard, being a woman and going through different things like this. If there's a woman out there that's hearing this, and she's in an abusive relationship, how do you talk with somebody? How do you, because that's something I don't understand, but How do you do that? I mean, how do you talk to somebody like that? That's a toughie.
It is. It's really tough, and even having gone through that in different relationships, and even parents figures doing that. I mean, it's tough when you're blinded by the love, or if I'm not. Sometimes it isn't there. Sometimes it's just a mirage that they want you to see and paint for you. Other times you do feel love, but the love that they give you back is not love. It's real hard for someone who's in that situation to I guess to talk to them. But my how I would just be there to listen. That's really the best thing that you can do, is to listen and hear their side and let them know that they are heard and that they are loved and that people do care about them. But for someone that's in that situation, I know it's hard to get out. I know you feel trapped, and I know you feel isolated. That's what the abuser likes to do. They make sure you don't have any friends, so that way you don't have anybody to call or help you. But there are people. There are so many people, and you can get out of that. You're not trapped. Don't think it's because of financial obligations, because there is such thing as financial abuse as well as all the other things. They can hold it, but I know it's scary thinking about leaving. What will I do? How will I get out? How will I get help? But it doesn't stop. It only gets worse. But just know that situation you're in is not forever, and that's not who you are. You're so much better. You're worth so much more. I mean, and God loves you.
And my son.
More than anything.
Can you say hi? Can you say hi to everybody? Say hi. He's looking, going, who's out there? Say hi. Say, Jesus is my rock.
Jesus is my rock, and that's how I roll.
And that's how I roll. All right. Well, why don't you go there with Mommy so that we can finish this? So, let's see. Okay, so my thing is, I've never been in an abusive relationship, or anything like that, but, I was raised that, and I won't get into too much of my testimony because this is about you, but, I really, ladies, if you're going through that, talk to somebody, and get some help for both of you, All right, so let's move past that, then you're, rehab. Whoa. Man, I tell you what, that's a big one there, you know what I mean? And going through rehab. So now you're 21, you're out of rehab. Where are you at now?
Well, I've done relapse once, gotten clean again. I'm throwing my life down the toilet because why not?
Here, baby, go over there, okay?
And
go there with Mommy.
21 sucked. You think you know it all. You're an official adult.
I thought that was 13.
That too.
Okay, they're both basically the same.
But you have the legal title of official adult. Like, you got it. You beat every age requirement there is.
Yep.
But dang, they don't tell you that it's really not as good as it seems. It's scary. Mm-hmm. I wasn't self-sufficient, so like I said, I've had to I relied on relationships and guys. I think because I had that codependent behavior, and it wasn't worth it. I mean, I think of all the situations I put myself through, because I was alone and afraid, and not sure how to help myself. I wish I had the tools and resources that I do now. Then I think there's a lot of what ifs we could have done in our life.
Yeah.
But so I'm out of rehab, and that relationship ends. Let's see. I feel like I'm forgetting a couple years there. What did happen? Okay, yeah. So,
what did happen?
Yeah, obviously, that time was foggy. I blocked a lot of stuff out that's happened to me throughout the years. It's just easier to not remember.
Yep.
But
I think we all do some of that.
So, let's see. Yeah, so I end up leaving that relationship, and I jump into another one and move in with him right away, and drugs, drinking. Drugs, and just everything was around. So I fall back into that, and my cousin, actually, Amanda, she was there for me and helped me get out of that situation. I left. I was able to stay with her, and until the next guy came along, and I reverted back to what I know. So here I go, starting another relationship, and sorry, this one's really hard for me. I was a closet user then. I still hadn't broken my addiction. I was in a relationship with someone who had never done drugs. They didn't have that addictive personality. They had their life together. They'd gone to college. They had a great career. And here I am hiding this huge secret. And so my life starts slowly falling apart, brick by brick. And, you know, they found out. Anyways, long story short, I was able to quit. Very shortly after that, I found out I was pregnant. I found out when I was 8 weeks pregnant, and I put it down, and I didn't touch it ever again. It wasn't worth it to me. I had something of my family. I had someone that would love me unconditionally and that I could love unconditionally, and I had something to live for. I had something to change for. So I got clean. That relationship had already ended there very early in the pregnancy. I'm trying to get my life together. I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do. I start doing it on my own because I know that I can't count on anyone else anymore, because someone else is going to be counting on me. And that brings us to here. My daughter was born in February. My husband and I got married in March. We moved to Ruidoso in March. I joined POH. I've been prospecting for them. My husband is now, he was prospecting at the time, and now he's a full patch member. And we live here, and God brought me here. I now have something that I've always longed for, that I've sought after since I was 7 years old. I have that family that they're not blood, but they're family. You know, they're the best that anyone could ask for. I have a church home. I have a church family. I have a husband who has God in his life, and he loves him, and he helps me to strengthen my relationship with him. We do devotionals together. We pray together. We go to church together. We're both active in the church together, and it's just...
Speaking about being active in the church, you got a little promotion there at the church, didn't you?
Yes, I am doing media for the church. I work in the sound booth for services now.
Yeah, and you are media for...
And media for POH.
Yeah.
Technology is something
so,
I like.
You know, some of that schooling did stick in. Mm-hmm. You know, what... When you first met POH, when you first came, what was your first impression of us? Because the first time we met you, you came to my house. We had just had a meeting, and... Mm-hmm. Your husband now, which wasn't your husband then, left you out in the truck.
Yeah,
while we had our meeting.
Weren't members. Unless you're a member, you're not allowed. You can't be a part of the meeting. So I had to sit out of it. I wasn't a part of POH, and then they found out that we were outside in the truck waiting, and they yelled at my husband, told him, "You bring her in. Don't ever do that." And
he was a prospect at the time. Yeah. He left you out.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah, I came in, I just see all these smiling faces, I feel all the warm energy and love, and honestly...
There's a lot of food.
Oh, there was, and it was great too. Keto cheesecake, guys. Check it out.
Yeah, one of my favorites.
But I honestly... I wasn't sure what to think of it. I'm so used to being around in fake situations or just certain things. I really wasn't sure how to take it. I kind of thought it was more of, honestly, like a front, I guess. Mm-hmm. Just who, but that's just because first impressions, people are always bubblier and everything. But as time went on, it stuck. And I was like, wow. So they really are. They really do love God this much. They really do care this much about people. They really do think this way. And it's just... it's amazing to be around a group of people that all have the same mindset.
You know, one thing that I like about it, that's nice is that, we all admit we're all sinners.
Yeah.
We fall short. We do things wrong. We do things we're not, I mess up every day. I fall short every day. You know what I mean? And one thing that's great is my brothers and my sisters, they help pick me back up and not beat me down for it,
Yeah.
We're all there to support each other and be there for each other and lift each other up, you know what I mean? And just like you have really blossomed since you came in with POH and prospecting and you've been a big asset to POH, you know what I mean? You've inspired us at times whenever we fall short, and you are a blessing to POH, As you're, well, I don't know if I should, I say that because it's going to come out the wrong way, but, your sponsor, okay? You have a sponsor. Mm-hmm. Everybody has a sponsor.
Yep.
How's your and your sponsor's relationship?
Amazing. I mean, there's certain requirements when you're prospecting that you have to keep with your sponsor. You're supposed to stay in contact with them every day. It holds you accountable. You're supposed to go to your sponsor first before that way it can be brought to the club. Everything goes through your sponsor. So, we were kind of thrown at each other. We were just talking about this the other day. Our lives were just kind of thrown in with each other. And then I started prospecting, and we had a friendship there, but it's not like, it was just crazy how our friendship grew because of him. He was in that, I was telling her the other day, I've never had a real friendship. I never was able to have one, but just in the short time that we've been friends, I mean, it's a very strong relationship. I mean, it's not even, I didn't have to be told you have to call your sponsor every day to check in with them. It's not like it's a requirement. It's a, hey, I haven't talked to her. Let me call her. What's going, and it's more family.
And so, as you end, it's getting close. Nobody knows besides your sponsor when you're going to be put up for a vote. That's the only person that can put you up for a vote is your sponsor. But, as your time starts getting closer with through your prospecting stage, what are your fears getting ready to? Do you have any fears getting ready to patch in with POH, or is there any?
No, I wouldn't say there's any fears. The biggest part of POH that right now we're not able to do is that we're a prison ministry, and we go into prisons and bring that message. Eventually, I know the women aren't going in there right now. I know that's something that we're working towards, and that I think is my not fear in a way, but it makes me nervous. Not nervous because of doing it, but nervous of that I'm going to be in there teaching someone else, and I want to do the best I can.
Yeah.
I want to give them all the right tools, and I want to, I have to do all my studying to make sure that I only come at them with the true word of God and not my own opinion or interpretation of it.
And so by that, we do our online Bible studies every Sunday, unless there's a holiday or we have a run going on or something going on. But check out our videos. We do Bible studies. Everybody takes turn, and you've gotten up there and done online Bible studies. So do you believe that helps you?
I was just telling my husband this the other day. The Bible studies for me are not so much something that I worry about or stress over. They're a huge tool for me. They help me grow. They help me strengthen all those, so I can have all those tools to go out and teach it to someone else. Actually breaking down the word to put together a Bible study based on those verses it helps me learn how to break down my reading further and the sermons further and everything. It just helps
Amen.
me to have a better understanding.
You know, I tell people, I tell everybody this. I said, you know, whenever I study for the Bible study and then I teach the Bible study, I'm the best pupil. You know, I mean, it's amazing the way it works.
It is.
So now you're here with POH, and you know, pretty soon, one day your sponsor's going to put you up for a patch, and you know, then hopefully everybody will vote yes, and you'll become a full patch member. Do you have any goals that as a full patch member you see that you want to help push POH to? What's the best attribute you personally think you bring to POH? There's a good question.
My technology skills, my social media and all that. I'm not so much of a Facebook person, or I don't Instagram, I don't post stuff much, but I know how to work them and use them. I had a business that I ran before and used social media as my outlet to get my name out there, my brand out there, get the message out there. And that's the same thing I'm trying to do with POH, and I hope to continue to bring it and reach more people. The further we can get this out there, the more people can hear this, the more people it can help.
Amen.
And that's all we want to do.
Amen. So, folks out there, you know, if you've heard something in this that has stirred something in your heart, let us know. If you'd like to know more about POH, let us know. Please share this out there. Let us get out there and get out there into the world to bring Christ. You know, one of our slogan is doing God's will on two wheels. You know, we want to lay rubber for Christ all over the nation. You know, if you're interested in POH, let us know. If you have any questions for Rabbit, you know, you can message us. If you don't want to put it out there on the deal, send us a message. Yep. Send us a private message. We would love to let her respond back to you to get, you know, to help anybody. You know, if you haven't received Christ into your heart, you need to do that. You know, get a hold of us. You know, we would love to do that. You know, so one thing that I want to ask you before we end this is, you said in your testimony that you were baptized young. You know, and you really didn't realize what you had really done. That you wasn't fully.
At that age, it's so hard, to, especially just being thrown into that, not being brought up earlier into a religious setting. I knew what they were telling me. I knew that Jesus died on the cross, he rose, and I knew all those things as much as I could read them and understand what the words meant, but I didn't understand what it was to know God, to really trust God, to feel God's love, to feel God's grace. I mean, I really didn't know all what that entailed. I just knew I had that in my heart. God was putting that on my heart. Baptism, I think, is there's a lot of conflicting thoughts on it, but my personal one is I wish I had waited to be baptized. I did it again when I was 20, but I had wished I had done it, waited, and not had done it, so that way I could fully understand and had time to actually know and learn.
Well, you need to pray about it, but if you want to be rebaptized, we'll make sure that happens.
That'd be amazing.
Okay, so, you know, all of us, sometimes we need to be rededicated, you know, and baptism is an outward showing to the congregation and to everybody that you have accepted Christ into your heart. You know, it's just a demonstration to everybody that you have been baptized with Christ, and you know, you are that Galatians 2:20. You know, it's no longer I that live, but Christ that lives in me. So, anything you want to say before we let this go? Put you on the spot.
Of course, no, Thank you for watching. I hope someone could take something from this, and for those of you that don't know Christ, I hope you come to know them, and if we can help in any way, we'd love to. And for those of you who do know Christ, just let your light shine.
Amen. So Rabbit will be doing interviews with each and every one of us in about the same way, to kind of go through our lives and dissect it and let you get to know us and how our walk was in the dark, walking through with Christ. And some of us have been, Christ followers all the way through, so, each and every one of us has a testimony to give about how Christ is in our lives. And we look forward to sharing each and every one of those with you. Y'all have a blessed day. God bless.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.